So, all right, everybody, welcome. Well, welcome to the System of Care Echo, and welcome to a didactic on provider resilience. Or, what do you mean it's not over yet? Here we go. As system of care providers, we spend most of our time working on how to help others, sometimes to the detriment of our own health and well-being. No wonder we are feeling run down, irritable, and less effective. And let's look at what are the major issues that we have to deal with on top of our jobs and how to care for these people that we care so much about. First of all, secondary traumatic stress. This has long been known to be a major impact on the workforce. We hear other people's trauma, and so it impacts us whether we like to admit it or not. The second major issue is primary traumatic stress. A lot of times in the helping fields, we tend to have higher ACE scores or more of our own primary trauma than people in other vocations and places. And so many of us come into this with some of our own trauma history. And we all experience trauma as we move through life. And finally, the workforce crisis. So let's take a minute and see how are we affected by all of these things. We'll start with that secondary traumatic stress. So here's a very standard definition for it. It's the emotional duress. So emotional duress, take that in. That results when an individual is exposed to the firsthand trauma experiences of other people. So we're hearing about everybody else's trauma all the time. And sometimes we even see it firsthand, or we see the results of it. And I just want to cue you in that secondary traumatic stress symptoms are exactly the same as PTSD symptoms, which is a big diagnosis. So, who is at risk for secondary traumatic stress? Child welfare workers, therapists, counselors, social workers, and might I add, SSIs. People who are very empathic, they're emotionally attuned to others. People who have unresolved personal trauma. I hope that those of you who go into the field because you want to help or you want to make a difference, do take care of your own stuff, but sometimes they don't. People who have heavy trauma caseloads, and look around, folks. I don't know anybody who doesn't have heavy trauma caseloads if you're in these fields. And finally, social or organizational isolation. Anybody working remotely? Anybody on a Zoom lately? Oh yeah. You are at risk for secondary traumatic stress. I'm sure these things sound like all sorts of people that you know. So here's a list of common stress symptoms. And there are others that we could mention. This is by no means an inclusive list of everything. There are things like dismissive positivity, numbness, a lack of motivation. If you can identify other stress symptoms that you can think of that I don't have listed here, please put them into the chat. In the meantime, I want to point out that these symptoms are important because the problems extend beyond just the symptom itself. You might be like, okay, so I'm irritable a lot. So what? I still do my work. Client care is compromised. Providers feel less effective. And secondary traumatic stress predicts who's going to leave the field. And we can't afford to have anybody leave the field. So let's do a quickie activity. You're only going to have a minute, so listen up. This is an annotation activity. Go to your Zoom toolbar and see if you can find annotation. Once you find annotation, choose a stamp and add a stamp to any of the symptoms that you've experienced in the last 30 days. Is there no annotation? There might not be on this version.
No, I don't see it.
All right, if that doesn't work, I have a backup plan. Look at those things, folks. There are 16 on the screen, and you could make up more. I'd like you to count how many of those categories of symptoms have you experienced in the last 30 days, and just put the number into the chat. And again, I'm just going to give you 1 minute to whip through those. So just take a quick count and put the number in the chat of how many of these things have you personally experienced. Here they come. On the low end, I'm seeing 3s, and at the high end, 11, 13. Yep. What is COVID brain? Thanks for asking. So COVID brain is when you're thinking of something and then you can't think of it. COVID brain is forgetting things that you typically would remember. COVID brain is time lapses. COVID brain is staring at a screen and being like, oh, how long have I been sitting here like this? COVID brain is just this general fuzziness, this feeling like you're not as sharp as you were. Anybody have any questions about any of the other symptoms? I'm attracted to the inability to embrace complexity. I like research, I like reading deep and thoughtful things, but did you know most people only like to read what they can see on a single page now? They do not like to dive deeper. And sometimes I'll read something and I'll get to the end of it and I'll be like, ugh, I didn't take it in. I didn't embrace the complexity of everything. I just sort of bzzz right through it. So all this exercise was to say to you, you're not alone. Everybody's having this. Everybody is experiencing this kind of symptomology. And it's not just about the clients now. These are symptoms that we're experiencing, even if we're doing all the things. You're taking care of yourself, you're eating right, you're trying to get enough sleep, you're doing self-care things, but these symptoms are still breaking through. And I'm sure I don't have to remind you that a worldwide pandemic fits the definition of trauma. And since we are all directly experiencing the chronic stress of COVID, we all have some level of trauma. Let's take a quick peek at what exactly is contributing to our stress currently. How about massive changes in all our life domains? How we work, how we school, how we travel, how we vacation, how we see our family or don't. All these things changed, which is a real strain on your brain with all the novelty. Your brain's lazy and wants to coast, but no luck here. Divisive tensions. Has anybody been worried about getting along with the person standing next to you in line at the grocery store or anywhere else in your life? It seems like everybody is so divisive. And it's us and them, and you get confused about which side people are on and why do we have to be on sides anyway, but it's everywhere. Online exhaustion. Welcome to Zoom. Sorry, we need to do it this way. I wish we were in person and helping each other that way, but we have telehealth for trainings, for meetings, for services, for socializing. I mean, we are on all the time, which is okay. It's allowed us to continue our work. However, it's harder to connect with people, and it's very difficult to interpret what people are thinking or feeling when all you get is that little Hollywood square picture. How about anxiety? Is your brain trying to prepare for worst case scenarios? Does anyone else spin into horrible imaginary things? I call those my Stephen King moments. I ask him to step down when that happens, but it happens. It seems like your brain just runs away with these case scenarios. And then finally, loss and grief. And honestly, I think, yes, loss and grief because of the disease and people that we have lost, but also loss of connection, loss of the feeling that you could live with ease. Nothing seems easy right now. And of course, we have grief over the things that we're missing. All the stories about if your senior year was in 2021, what did that look like? If my kid moved to middle school and never really finished that elementary school that she was in. And so lots of people are feeling loss of things and loss of connection. And finally, that workforce crisis. I'm sure you've heard it referred to as the big quit or the great resignation, but whatever it's called, we're suffering. We're understaffed, we have chronic turnover, there are wage issues, lack of support, lack of protection for the workers out there. And I don't know, I am unaware of agencies out there and departments at the state that are 100% staffed. I don't think it exists right now, and it makes it really tough. And sometimes it's starting to get tough to see the difference between the clients and the staff, because we're all suffering. We all have these symptoms, and we want to help. We really do want to help, but we're tired. We're running out of energy. This is going to be our 3rd year in. So there is a solution, and the solution is provider resilience. But how exactly do we stay resilient throughout all of this? We need to activate our polyvagal network. So this activation includes, oh, by the way, also known as the social engagement system. There's nothing more important than being engaged with other people. But let's walk through just a tiny bit of polyvagal stuff right now. First of all, tune into how your body feels. When you take a breath and tune into what's going on inside your body, you're able to calm just a little bit, and using your breath through mindful breathing can be a very strong way to self-regulate. Literally taking that deep breath can help you get into that calmer space. But it is the social engagement system, and you should also connect with people. If you can't connect with people because you're sitting alone on Zoom, then can you connect with a pet? Can you connect with somebody just by visualizing them? Wherever you can, make some sort of a connection that feels emotionally soothing to you. And finally, you should really try to harness those Stephen King thoughts, those anxious thoughts, and actively steer your thinking in a more hopeful direction. This activation of your polyvagal nerve network, which by the way, runs from around your diaphragm up through your chest, by your lungs, through your neck, and into the base of your brain. Activating that nerve pathway can have a snowball effect to the good. I guess that saying that today doesn't necessarily mean good, since we're all sitting at home waiting for the snowstorm, but it can have a snowball effect. And because doing that activates your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that deals with logic. Calming yourself allows you to think clearly and process any difficult circumstances to further resolve the stress. So we should all learn more about polyvagal activation, but my time is very short for today. So let's jump into 4 quick things. Number 1, hit pause. Hitting pause lets you have options. If you're just in that reactive mode, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to respond to this, that reactive mode is not your best thinking. It's not coming from your prefrontal cortex. And if you can simply say, I want to pause, gather my thoughts, and then decide to do something, you are much more likely to make a good decision that will help you in the long run. Another quick thing you can do is take that breath. When you take a very deep in breath, and let's do it all together, everybody, big, deep in breath, move that diaphragm, and then a longer, slow out breath activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So take 1 or 2 of those really deep breaths, the long, slow exhale, and it triggers your body to calm down. Another thing you can do, help somebody else. When you help somebody else, it is like a double shot of dopamine. Okay. And dopamine's the feel good thing in your brain. Okay. When you help somebody else, it's like a shortcut to getting dopamine. When you help somebody else, you feel good about the fact that you're helping, and they feel good about the fact that you reached out to help them, which makes you feel good again. And so a lot of dopamine flying around by simple acts of helping someone else. And I was going to suggest that while we're here today, you check out the list of all these people, all the participants here today. And is there somebody that you could give a compliment to? And if so, shoot them that in the chat. Help somebody else. You'd be surprised how much goodwill that brings. And then the last thing I want to say that is a super quick thing to do is shake it off. Okay. This is actually an activity, and I'm going to do it with you. It is 2 minutes, and I have exactly 2 minutes left to shake off the stress. Stress isn't that bad for you, actually, but being stuck in it is really bad for you. And the solution is to move your body a lot. You probably or might not agree with it or believe it, but the best part about this is you don't have to believe it. It works anyway. And so we're going to start right now with a 2-minute shake. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can see me. And here we go. I encourage you, if you feel uncomfortable, turn off your screen and do it anyway. I'm challenging you, double dog dare you to do this and not feel better in 2 minutes. So let's start with one arm. Feeling okay? Get the second arm and really wiggle those arms. Oh, my shoulders are getting involved. How about you? It don't shake till it hurts. Shake till you're loose. Give a few head rolls in here. Oh, I can't help it. My hips are getting involved now too, which is really good because I have a sore right hip. How about you? Anybody got any aches and pains out there? Gentle shaking. Now I'm going to shake one leg. You can't really see my legs, but I'm going to tell you I'm shaking them out there. Shake a leg and then shift to the other leg and shake a leg. Now, here's the bad news. We aren't even 1 minute into this. The way to get the benefit is to go to 2 minutes. Okay, so we are just at 1 minute, and we're going to do 1 more minute. So maybe you want to turn around a little because it could get a little boring, but keep doing it. Don't let it go. Roll your head, shake your arms, shake your legs. We're getting so close. 30 more seconds. Woo. I know, and you might be tempted to say, boy, Bobbi, this is making me tired. No, hang in there. Hang in there. 20 more. 15 more seconds. Ooh, start to slow down that shaking just a little bit. 10 more seconds to go. Guaranteed, here it comes. Relax. Let it go. What do you feel in your body? How would you describe the feelings in your body? Yes, Tara, shake your sillies out. When I did therapeutic camps for behavior disordered youth, we called it the wet dog. Yes, Holly, I agree. Buzzing, energized. Taylor Swift song, yes. I was gonna play it in the background, but I couldn't cope with all the technology. All right, everybody, thanks for participating with me today. I'm gonna share my screen for 1 more second, Kara, hang in there. And I'll see you all next month, and we're gonna find out about our superpower. Bye-bye.